Hey, Bond1 here again. If you've played games like Left 4 Dead or Condemned, Criminal Origins, or some of the Fear games, you'll notice it has a subtle static-like effect on the screen that gives it the look of film grain, like you're watching a movie. Well, I'm giving away a shader today that does just that, and a whole lot more actually. I've got it loaded up into Dark Shader already. You'll see it's called Cinematic Film Grain Shader with color correction. And I'm not sure if you can see on the screen here, but it's by the default setting has a very subtle static film grain effect on it. And let me just go through some of the controls and show you what you can do. So over here we got all our controls on the right. I'm going to use this arrow button to scroll down first, and you'll see we've got film grain amount and scanline amount. You can turn this way up for a whole lot of film grain to the point it almost looks like television static, or just keep it real subtle. And I found that even at a really subtle low setting, it really you probably can't see it very well on this YouTube video, but in your game it really does a lot to make it look like more like a movie. And you can turn the scan lines up too to give it kind of look of a television screen if you want. But these are the two controls you can play with that controls the amount of film grain. Now at the default setting, this also does color correction. The default setting has color setting here all the way set to 1. This just gives the regular color of the scene, no alteration. But I can turn this all the way down to 0 and then turn some of these other sliders up, this monochrome. If you turn that up, it'll just make your scene black and white. Now you can really get the look of like a horror movie by turning up the film grain amount, and I've also got some controls that control the brightness and contrast, so you can really make this look like a horror movie. Let's turn up the contrast a bit and then the brightness down, and you can kind of see it really deepens. It'll really deepen your shadows and bring out a lot of contrast to give it the look of like an old horror movie, or even like a film noir type thing. So let me turn this film grain down a bit. And in addition to that, you also have a couple sepia tones, like here's a brown sepia. Give it the look of like an old western, and you can mix these any way you want. So I can bring the sepia down and bring just a little bit of the color back, and it kind of just gives it this old, worn out type look. And I'm just playing with the brightness and contrast. Now it kind of looks like an old western. So it really does a lot to really give your game a particular type of feel rather than this just generic game type feel. It really can add a whole new dimension to your games. Here's another setting you can do. I've got a green sepia tone that kind of has this sickly green type of look that turn the thing that you can kind of gives it the look of old like wartime footage. You can turn up the contrast again to just fiddle with these. You have full control over contrast and brightness to really give your game a look. So if you want your whole game to have this like old, nighttime look, or old like just old footage from 8mm films or something like that, you can really do that with the shader you've got all kinds of controls to play with here. And even you can just mix in any of these sepia tones as much as you want, add as much color as you want. You can even blow out your scene if you want. If you want this super bright, almost like outdoor look to it, you can do that too. Another thing you can do is that you can kind of give the look. It's called if you've watched the CSI Miami show, you can give your games the look of that show a bit by what they do is just bump up the color a lot. So just turning up the contrast and playing with that, you can kind of give this super saturated look to your colors, And along with the film grain amount, it really has this post-production technique. And like I said, it's like the show CSI Miami, if you've ever watched that. If you've seen the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, they use a technique called bleach bypass, where, again, it washes out the colors, first of all, and it makes the blacks blacker than they normally would be, so it just gives it more this dramatic type of look, really cinematic. Let me just play with these a bit. Here, just kind of wash out the color. There we go. That's really what it looks like there. That's like the movie Seven. You see, you get just really washed out colors, really deep blacks, and it just really gives a great mood. And it really breaks up that computer-generated look, or that, just really generic video game look. It really makes it look more like a movie. And then when you're done, you just export it from Dark Shader. And you'll need to name it postbloom.fx and overwrite your bloom shader that comes with FPS Creator. Make a backup first, but you can do all kinds of things with this shader to really give your game a different type of look. So it works for all kinds of things. So have fun.